Courtside Monday.
I'm back. Did you miss me? It's been a long time. 2 weeks to be exact. I signed off last time and I said, I will see you next Monday. But then COVID hit and it got me. It tackled me to the ground and I had to take a few days off. Didn't get to talk Blazer ball with you, but I am back. That's right. I am Chris Burkhardt here with you for another episode of Courtside Monday. We do have a few little Blazer nuggets to talk about. And as always, if you want to get in on the conversation, you know what to do. Grab that phone, 503-248-0620, and we can have a little bit of a conversation. But boy, before we get to basketball, let me tell you what, that COVID stuff, it's still no joke. Yeah, take your precautions, people. It is absolutely no fun. Knocked me on my behind. I was in the bed, couldn't get out. Mainly because my 5-year-old wouldn't let me. She was on COVID patrol. Let me tell you what. When she this is the second time during the what we can still claim as the pandemic era of our lives that I have got COVID. Now, the first time I had COVID, I was down and OUT out. Like every single thing under the sun that you could have, every single symptom, right? I had the runny nose, I had the cough, the congestion, shortness of breath, everything, except I never lost my taste. No energy. Like I was bedridden, just for days. This time, not so much. I had every symptom. Didn't lose my taste though, but I had all the other symptoms, but not as bad. So I could still get up around the house, move around. Didn't come into the office, obviously. Didn't want to get anybody sick. But my 5-year-old, she was not about dad running around the house. Nope, dad, you are in quarantine. You are in your bedroom. I have a picture on my phone because, as I was struggling, I was attempting to get the phone into video mode, but I wasn't able to get it up in time. But a picture of my phone of her sitting in the doorway to my bedroom with a ukulele singing songs about Dad's got COVID and he can't leave his room. And because I don't want him to get me sick. And I'm just like, what a little punk you are, child. But it was adorable. She took good care of me. She'd come knock on my door and be like, Dad, dinner's here. And she'd put it down in front of the door so I could come get it. She took good care of me. So did my wife and my other daughter as well. So we're on the mend. We're back. We are back. We're feeling healthy. We're feeling good. But just a reminder, it's still out there. It's still out there. And just like any other sickness, just take your precautions. Wash those hands. Do what you need to do. Just being sick sucks, Shacker. It doesn't matter if it's COVID, the flu, just the common cold. Just being sick sucks.
But you had a good one because you knew who to blame it on.
Yeah, I did know who to blame it on. It was all the man's fault over there. At least he takes the blame, but I'm not about putting blame on something you can't control. It just happens. So we're all good. Everybody's healthy. The baby got it, which was a little bit, the wife was real worried about that one, but didn't hit her too hard. We have a saying around my house, and that's there's regular COVID and then there's man COVID, and Dad gets man COVID, and man COVID's worse. It's like, because they always laugh like the girls get it, but they get girl COVID because they don't get very sick. But Dad gets sick, real sick. He must get the man version of COVID. I don't know why my girl started that, but it's funny. Made me laugh. You know what else made me laugh before we get to Blazer Talk? For all you listeners out there, Michael Shacker hasn't seen Super Troopers. I made a reference. He was talking about getting X amount of high five drops in a segment in the drive there, and I'm like, oh, it's like Meows in Super Troopers. He's like, what? I haven't seen that movie. Come on, Meow. Come on, Meow. You haven't seen Super Troopers?
I know of the movie, just haven't watched it. Now that 25 years have gone by, I think maybe it's just too late.
No, it's not too late. It's not too late. Never
and
too
there's
late.
A sequel, so I have to watch the whole franchise.
Wasn't that 3 Days Grace? I never watched the sequel because it was like the first one was just perfect. Didn't want to ruin it. Didn't hear great things about the sequel anyway. But the first one, just go watch it. It's a good movie. All right, that's it. We can't be talking about more Super Troopers. We got to talk about the Portland Trailblazers and what is and is not happening, right? We have all kind of sat here and looked at the news. It's been about a month's time now. Things have kind of started to feel a little bit better. Remember, it was 4th of July weekend that the news broke that Damian Lillard was requesting a trade to Miami. Not a lot of news has come out. However, it was over the weekend that the NBA did send a memo to all 30 teams about the situation with Damian Lillard and his agent requesting a trade and specifically stating that they want to go to Miami. Now, in this memo, it was, quote, recent media reports stated that Damian Lillard's agent, Aaron Goodwin, called multiple NBA teams to warn them against trading for Lillard because Lillard's only desired trade destination is Miami. Goodwin also made public comments indicating that Lillard would not fully perform the service called for under his player contract if traded to another team. We, being the NBA, interviewed Goodwin, and Lillard also spoke with several NBA teams to whom Goodwin spoke. Goodwin denied stating or indicating to any team that Lillard would refuse to play for them. Goodwin and Lillard affirmed to us that Lillard would fully perform the services called for under his player contract in any trade scenario. This the relevant teams provided descriptions of their communications with Goodwin that were mostly, though not entirely, consistent with Goodwin's statements to us. We have advised Goodwin and Lillard that any future comments made privately to teams or publicly suggesting Lillard will not fully perform the services called for under his player contract in the event of a trade will subject Lillard to discipline by the NBA. We also have advised the Players Association that any similar comments by players or their agents will be subject to discipline going forward. Now, I find this interesting because they say that, well, we talked to him and they said they didn't do this, and the other guy said they didn't do this. But then they end the statement with, we have advised all the teams that this should not happen moving forward, which to me, this kind of screams like, yeah, you towed the line and you went just a little tiny bit over what we would like. So what we're going to do is we're going to slap you on the wrist here. That's strike one. 3 strikes, you're out. We're going to release this memo. We're going to let everybody know that that's how we're not going to operate moving forward. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So don't do this again. We're going to give you the pass for now. That's what this screams like. I totally think everything within that happened. Does this change anything? Like, we can hate the situation all we want, but that's Aaron Goodwin doing his job. His job is to get his client where his client has told him he wants to go. And if his client said Miami, then he should be doing everything to get his client there. That's what a good agent does. Now, that might not be what we want as fans, but we aren't the agent. That's not the agent's job. The agent's job is not to give the fans what they want. The agent's job is to give his client what he wants. Now, if he goes through any backdoor channels, so be it. That's just how agents work in the NBA. This one took a little bit of a weird spin because it started to get out there. There's a lot of hearsay, he said, she said, right? Goodwin said this, but I think Cronin said that. Like, well, Goodwin might have said it, but I think it was the Blazers who really pushed this narrative. Well, if the Blazers heard that he was doing that, it was their job to push that narrative. They need this to happen. So it's just really interesting. So now the next logical question that everyone asks is, does this change anything? Does this impact what happens moving forward with this trade? Now, I find it interesting because there is a tweet here over the weekend from Sam Amico, Amico Hoops. You guys know him, hoopswire.com, senior NBA writer, been at Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, the like. He says that he is hearing that the NBA would veto any Lillard trade to Miami. Doesn't think that what he's hearing is entirely true, but it's what people around the league are telling him that they foresee, which would be very interesting because how many times has the league stepped in to veto a trade? Obviously, the one that comes to mind is Chris Paul's going to the Lakers. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's going to LA, going to play at the Clippers, but we're not going to let him go play for the Lakers. And of course, if they didn't veto that trade, that would have changed the landscape of the NBA for years and years to come. It definitely probably would not be the NBA that it is now if you would have paired a prime CP with that Lakers at that time. But would the NBA step in on this one? It's really weird because I feel like if the NBA comes out, releases the statement they do about Goodwin and Lillard, again, they're allowing things to move forward as long as they toe the line and don't go over it. So if a trade is agreed upon with the Miami Heat, but the NBA doesn't find that they, went back across the line, what grounds do they have to really want to veto that, right? They gave them the warning. They said, okay, my bad. You set down your ground rules. I'm going to listen to those ground rules. And if they listen and the trade goes through, then it kind of has to happen, right? So I kind of agree with Sam here, who says he doesn't foresee that happening. That would be, again, it would be kind of unprecedented in a way. Again, you got the Chris Paul trade that was vetoed. I just don't see this one happening. But the logical question that does go into this is, again, what does Miami have to offer that the Blazers want? Okay, they don't want Duncan Robinson. Let's be completely clear here, because Duncan Robinson is not a negative asset by any means. Like, yes, he makes a lot of money relative to a guy like an Anthony Simons, but we're talking about a 20-point per game guy. He's a very good shooter, good offensive player. He's not great defensively, but I don't think he's terrible. Not great though by any stretch. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, like these are good. These are good guys. So Tyler Hero, like he's a commodity. He's a commodity. Apologies, I think I said Duncan Robinson there, but I meant Tyler Hero. But Tyler Hero, he is a commodity. He's just not a commodity the Blazers want. Duncan Robinson, not a commodity the Blazers want. But there are teams that could want those type of players. I stand firm that, like, if you were to go get a third team involved in all this, that San Antonio, I think San Antonio is a team that could covet a player like Tyler Hero. They got plenty of cap space. They're going to need a guy to just alleviate some of that scoring pressure off of Victor Wembanyama. A guy who can just kind of go get buckets, find ways to get Vic involved in the passing game as well. Just makes sense. And they can have him for the entirety of his contract and then trade him in the final year or let him walk, whatever. They're not going to have to give up a ton to get him. But I see value in that. I could see value in that for a team like San Antonio. So again, maybe San Antonio is the third team you get involved so that they can send Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero out to make contracts work. Tyler Hero goes to San Antonio. Duncan Robinson goes to whatever team you want to get him out. Now money's starting to work, and Damian Lillard can go to Miami. San Antonio says, okay, well, we do like Tyler Hero, and we'll send a first round. We can just absorb his money in. We'll send you a first round pick for your troubles. Portland gets the pick. The framework of the deal with Miami as it is, as Shams Charania pointed out today, is that the Heat pieces in a possible Lillard trade include 3 to 4 first-round picks. Not a ton of value in the fact that those are all going to be late first-round picks. Pick swaps, second-round picks as well. Tyler Hero to a third team. Again, I said Duncan Robinson in there as well, just to maybe make money work depending on what they're trying to do. Expiring deals and young players. And the young players, I mean, now Jaquez can be traded. Today's the day. It's been the 30-day window since the draft and players signed those deals. So maybe that's the young player you want. But just because Miami is the preferred destination does not mean that is the final destination when it's all said and done. Because I think there are some other teams here that can come into play, and that's where it becomes Joe Cronin's job to take the best trade possible. Okay, I know everyone sits here and does this whole, well, you owe it to Dame to trade. No. Why? What? You know what you gave Dame? You owe it to Dame? Well, he's been loyal and all. He gave you all those good years. Yeah, and you rewarded him with that max contract extension that's going to be paying him $60 million a year at the end of it. That you owed him that. You gave it to him. You don't have to trade him to Miami because that's what he said. He prefers it, and you'll look good if you end up getting him there, unless you get him there by taking on just a ton of need. Now, I think there's dark horses in this that could really, really intrigue the Blazers. Who could those be? We will tell you when we return here on Courtside Monday on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. It's fun, though. It's fun, though, because without social media, we wouldn't get to analyze Damian Lillard posting videos with, Will Smith's Miami playing in the background. And what does it mean? What could this mean? He played a song about Miami. It wasn't a song about Portland. Oh, my gosh. If he plays, oh my gosh, if he posts a video on Instagram with like Tupac and Dr. Dre's California Love playing in the background, it's the app might blow up. Portland fan might freak out. Like, oh no, LA's getting in on this now. What? No, that's not going to happen. Here's the deal, friends and family. And as always, you can jump in, join the conversation, 503-248-0620. But we know for a fact that Damian Lillard has asked out, okay? Now, we have kind of conflicting reports as to what has been going on with Aaron Goodwin and company about saying whether or not Damian Lillard would play for any team he was traded to. Now, first off, you did have the reports initially that Damian Lillard would not play for a team that he was traded to if it wasn't Miami. Again, this was according to multiple reports that Aaron Goodwin was going out there and saying these things. But also, I called the bluff on that 1 week ago, as should you as a Blazer fan, because the brand Damian Lillard has built over the years, and granted, it's taken a little bit of a hit here with the fan base as things continue to play on, because obviously not a lot of people are fans of what is going on with this. I'm requesting a trade and I want to go to this specific location. But the brand Damian Lillard has built over all these years has been a brand of a guy who he just wants to be on the court, a guy who is a competitor, a guy who's genuine. I think the thing that's hurt him the most over the last few years is being in a situation where he has been asked to sit out. He has been asked to not play. This guy wants to play. He's a competitor. He's built that one's ingrained in him, right? So if he gets traded to Boston, he'll play. If he gets traded to Miami, he'll play. If he gets traded to Charlotte, which, it has no need for him, and it might be one of the worst for wear teams when it's all said and done, he'll play. It doesn't matter where Damian Lillard goes. He'll play. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that if he is a Blazer come the start of the season, that he'll be in the starting lineup. And at that home opener, Mark Mason will yell, wearing the letter O, Damian Lillard. And everyone will freak out. Everyone will love it. He'll be a Blazer at the moment. Wholeheartedly believe that. He's going to play for whatever uniform he is under contract for come season start. And that's why I think there are going to be multiple offers on the table outside of what the Blazers are looking at Miami, right? Outside of what Miami can offer. Because we've gone over that one multiple times. Miami does have the picks. The picks are of low value. The Miami does have Tyler Hero, but Tyler Hero is not an asset that the Blazers need. Again, I do not think he is a bad asset. Let's be clear there. Some people want to say that he's a terrible trade. He is not a bad asset. He's just not one that the Blazers need. Perhaps there could be value in taking him on to trade him later. But again, not an asset the Blazers need. So what other teams can logically get in on this? And that's where things do get really, really interesting, because obviously there was a little bit of a rumor that Boston might get in there. And logically, they're like, well, who can Boston give up to get him? Jaylen Brown would be the guy, right? Because they're not going to get rid of Tatum. They got it. Well, that one's not happening, right? Brown's not going anywhere because he just signed that Supermax deal. So he cannot re-sign, or he cannot be traded for a year's time now. So that one's out the door. So who's in? Who's in? So we got to start to think about who has things to offer the Blazers. Okay. Now you can get those picks from Miami. You could turn around, trade Tyler Hero for another pick, but I think you need more than picks. I think you need legit young talent. if you're going to get off a player like Dame. Okay? Look at what Brooklyn got for Kevin Durant. That haul of picks and Mikal Bridges. Now we're talking Kevin Durant. He's above Dame in the pecking order here, right? But they got a haul and a nice young player, a guy who's ready to play right now. Donovan Mitchell leaves Utah, goes to Cleveland. Utah, Lauri Markkanen, a nice young player who's ready to play right now, ends up having the best year of his career. Rudy Gobert goes to Minnesota. They get a haul of picks and the rights to Walker Kessler, who goes out and has an incredible year and might end up being one of the better defensive centers in the league in the next coming years. They got a guy who could play right now, difference maker. And Portland needs to look for that. Now, I don't know if they're going to get the player and the haul of picks because I think the Kevin Durant trade was right there pre-new CBA, post-CBA. Look at what Bradley Beal, look at the haul that Washington got for Bradley Beal. It wasn't much of a haul. They got nothing, right? I think Damian Lillard's somewhere in between Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, leaning a little bit more towards the Kevin Durant side of things. So then you start to look at rosters and who could offer what. Now, Philadelphia has been a team that's been rumored. The only interesting thing with them is a guy who has a ton of money that they could trade is Tobias Harris. But at 31 years old might not be what you want. But you could start to look at things like DeAnthony Melton, a nice young guard. Of course, Tyrese Maxey is a guy who's got a lot of attention in these trade talks. You would still need to find someone, likely a team that could take on Tobias Harris, or maybe Portland takes him as part of the deal to get some of those younger guys. Like, okay, I'll take Tobias off your hands. I'll take that fat contract, that $40 million, and that 30-year-old power forward, but you're going to have to give me one of those young guys in return. And of course, a lot of people do point towards Tyrese Maxey, but the only problem with Tyrese Maxey, that's another guard. Is that what Portland needs? I don't know. But Philadelphia is in that conversation, right? I look at a team, too, that I think could be that nice young point guard away from really doing some fun things, and that's Indiana. I think Indiana with Dame next to a guy like a Bruce Brown Jr., next to an incredible shooter in Buddy Hield, next to Miles Turner, I think they can get some things done. But again, what do they have to give up? Are they going to give up Ben Mathurin, who they just drafted, who was my favorite player in the draft last year, to get it done? Give me Tyrese Halliburton to give me a little guard depth. Give me Ben Mathurin, who can play the 2 and the 3, have some fun with him. Give me a haul of picks and your nice young guys. Let's go have some fun. And Indiana does have the rights to all their picks, so they could give you their 2024, their 2026, their 2028 picks. That's a team that I think might be a dark horse, at least in the conversation. But the team that I really think could get in on this, and this one might be believable, it might not. We'll see what you think. Again, fire up the phones, 503-248-0620. But the team I think gets in on this and at least maybe puts together an offer is a team up north, but technically south of Portland, and that is the Toronto Raptors. And the reason I think they get in on this is multi-layered here. First off, multiple rumors over the last year plus about who Portland could get. I mean, we heard it all going into the draft, right? OG Anunoby is a player that the Blazers want. Pascal Siakam, he's an all-star type player. I mean, he is an all-star. We're going to get him in if we can trade Scoot, or at the time, the third pick over there, maybe the Ant, the third pick. Get me Pascal Siakam because Dame wants to play with Pascal. Those were the teams, the team, and those were the names you were looking to get, right? Well, if Dame really covets playing next to OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, find a way to trade him to Toronto. Well, who are you going to get in return? This is where I think things get interesting, because I think you could put together a package. Myself, give me Chris Boucher. Give me a little bit of depth there at power forward and center. And give me a first-round pick, because they don't have a lot. They do have for the next 3 years pick protections with San Antonio. And give me Scotty Barnes, and we'll start talking. And then Blazer fans or anyone else will sit there and go, whoa, Scotty Barnes. Why would they want to give up Scotty Barnes? Because you're getting Damian Lillard. And sometimes you have to part with a good piece to get a really good piece back. And you can't tell me, even without Scotty Barnes in that lineup, that a starting lineup of Damian Lillard, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl wouldn't be one fun team. And they need that point guard. They signed Dennis Schroeder, but Dennis Schroeder is more of your stopgap starting point guard right now. I like Schroeder as a depth play. I think he's a good guard, nice fun guard. But the gap between Dennis Schroeder and Damian Lillard, it's a pretty big one, right? And they just lost their guard in Fred VanVleet. Not a lot of depth there, right? So I see a situation where maybe this works out. Maybe they don't want to get rid of Scotty, but OG Anunoby is what they offer. And then you start linking. And the reason why I think about this is because, again, do you want a bunch of first-round picks from Miami that are going to be late first-round picks, which we all know hold minimum value? Like, you're not getting 10 top 10 picks if Miami gives those to you. And Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero, I don't know why I keep saying Duncan Robinson. I mean Tyler Hero. But Tyler Hero, who you don't need. Duncan Robinson, who would be part of a potential deal depending on how much money's flying around, who you don't need. Or an OG Anunoby who fills a void. An OG Anunoby who could go in, be your small forward of the future, and you can have some fun. Again, OG Anunoby's 26 years old. Or Scotty Barnes, who's 24. And now you can build your core around Scotty Barnes, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe. You still have Ant, who you haven't traded either at this point. Maybe Ant could go get you an upgrade somewhere. Maybe Jeremy Grant's not the long-term answer, so you get off of Jeremy Grant, try to bring in some nice young pieces. That's where you get a nice draft pick or two. Ant nets you your nice young, center of the future. I don't know. But the point is, that is a team and a trade that I think could happen, whether it's OG or Scotty Barnes. And again, do you want Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero in the conversation? Or do you want OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes in the conversation, right? Well, OG and Barnes are two guys that you could use. Now, you're not going to get both of them, but if one of them comes to Portland in a deal, you're in a better spot. Tyler Hero's good, y'all. I like Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero does nothing for Portland. Nothing. Since I keep saying his name, Duncan Robinson, yeah, he does nothing either. He's their backup shooting guard, guys. OG Anunoby would be your starting small forward. Scotty Barnes would be your starting power forward. Allow you to move Jeremy to the 3 for a little bit. See what happens. And maybe trade off of him. But again, if I'm Joe Cronin, that's the type of deal I want. Okay, well, they can only afford to give you one first-round pick. You're not going to get the 4 from Miami. Like, I don't care. Because I'm getting the player that I can plug into my lineup and is going to benefit me in the long run. And that's why I think they're a dark horse. Because when you look at trades, it's rare, at least it feels like it. But where's that trade that both teams come out on top? Now, I know everybody loves Scotty Barnes. I know Toronto loves Scotty Barnes. Plenty of upside, but this is a guy who's only getting you 15 points per game. Damian Lillard is going to go out there and get you 30. And he's going to do it alongside an all-star in Pascal Siakam. He's going to do it alongside a very good center in Jakob Poeltl. He's going to do it against a guy who he has chemistry with already in Gary Trent Jr. if he's not in that deal. And he's going to do it next to OG Anunoby, who is another guy he wants to play with. Then they can go out. They can sign different players. They can get some depth. Got a lot of young guys, but they did just go out and get, what's his name? Garrett Temple. There we go. That's the name. So that's a trade that I think is your dark horse team. Now, is Miami is the clubhouse favorite here. Let's be completely honest, because they're going to pull out all the stops. They're going to give up every single possible asset that they have. They're going to try to get teams who are on the fringe, who might be your third or fourth team to come in and are willing to take on the Robinson and Hero type contracts to give assets out because they want Dame. So they're going to be all in on this. Don't get me wrong. I still think they are the favorite in the clubhouse, but there are dark horses in this. And it is in Joe Coronan's best interest to continue to poke around and see what is out there. Now, I've given you the phone number a few times. Mainly it was bait, right? Because when you go fishing, you have in mind what you're after. Like if you're going out and you're looking for a smallmouth bass, right? You know exactly what type of lure, what type of bait, what you need to catch your bass. Just like I knew exactly what I need to do to catch Ken in Vancouver. And he did. He took the bait. He took it. He called it, grabbed the phone, and he dialed in. Ken, welcome into Courtside Monday.
Hey, good evening, Chris. Hook, line, and sinker, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How we doing?
You know, I've cooled down off of my dismay. I'm still not, super happy, but if I've got a better idea.
Well, give it to me.
I've come to the conclusion that Dame playing with Scoot, and we know that Scoot wants to play with Dame, can be our version, if Scoot is as good as everybody thinks he's going to be, of Donovan Mitchell and Garland in Cleveland. Now, what makes their team so good is they have size behind those guys, correct?
Yeah. Oh, they do. Mobley and Allen, right?
So, the new idea that makes total sense for both sides, Toronto, who Siakam does not want to go anywhere, they don't want to trade Scotty Barnes, is OG still is very, I think, a guy that Dame would be very happy having here.
I think
you put OG next to Grant with Nurk in the lineup, that's a pretty doggone good front court. And you've got Dame being all everything and Scoot with the potential. And what would Toronto want to make those fans super, super happy? You trade them the Maple Jordan. That's what you do. You trade them the Maple Jordan and a guy who I think has spectacular potential going forward.
Yes. For those of you not aware of what he's saying, Shaden Sharp is Canada's son. So
the Maple Jordan, and what does that solve? That solves. You've got now the defense behind Dame and Scoot. You've got the potential Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside of Dame and Scoot. You've got a better defense. You've got the full meal deal of a great starting five, and Toronto gets, again, they get the Maple Jordan. And I think that solves it on both ends. I don't necessarily think that the more I think about it, I don't feel two things. One, the reason to me that Dame only puts Miami down as where he wants to go is because I think the other place he wants to go is right here, staying here. And another thing is that if he goes to any team, the amount of damage that all of the stuff that we're going to have to get back is going to make that team a lesser team than it would be, if he could go to a team and then it was all complete. So, and the Blazers, I don't think Joe really wants to trade Dame. I think he wants Dame to give this thing a chance. And
I believe that.
To me, sending Maple Jordan to Toronto solves that for OG. And I could see Ujiri really saying, yeah, that's a guy we could build around. Excitement for Toronto. Siakam doesn't want to go anywhere, and I think the Maple Jordan would be happy going home, and I know Dame would be happy staying here if we got OG Anunoby.
Yeah, I just want to point out too, like to your point about Miami here. I mean, one thing we always argue on all these shows, Ken, is recency bias, and I think there's a big one here with Miami because Miami was a play-in team. Now, they had it. Now, the playoffs is all about being hot at the right time. They got hot at the right time, made it to the finals, but they were a play-in team. So how good are they in the regular season if to get Dame, they have to trade all their depth to do it? That's an interesting play.
Exactly. And they've already lost Max Strus from their depth. They've already lost
Gabe Vincent.
Vincent to the Lakers. So their depth took a major hit already. I just don't see them being a stronger team. I mean, they will be, Dame, I think, would be spectacular for them, but I just don't think they've got enough to really compete with their depth being just sick. And I actually think Phoenix is also going to suffer big time this year with a lack of depth, even though somehow they're up against the second apron and they seem to figure out a way to keep signing guys. But
they've pushed all the chips on the table. They're going to try to figure it out. It'll be interesting. Absolutely. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I get what you're laying down with OG. If that's something you want to do. I know there's a lot of Blazer fans who wouldn't want to give up on Sharp this early, but sometimes it takes a little bit of pain to be happy at the end, right?
Exactly. And like you just said, you can't get something for nothing unless if you're, of course, Jerry West back in the heyday of the 80s when he could trade. He could use his Laker mind tricks and get basically great things for crap. So that only worked with Jerry West.
Yeah, absolutely. And I throw this one out there to you, Ken, because I think obviously it benefits Joe Cronin to let this thing play out to the deadline, because then maybe Toronto is in a spot where they're a top 5 team, or New York is a top 4 team in Philly. And now you got teams that maybe we're on the fringe who might really want to get into the Dame competition because they could see him pushing him over the edge, right? But on the other side of that, what if Dame is a Blazer on day one and they try to see how this experiment is? And unlike last year, they start slow out of the gate, but then it eventually starts clicking. And come trade deadline time, the Blazers are a top 5 team in the West. Things are working. Does Dame still want out? Or does he see a way that maybe trading Ant or your Shaden or someone brings in that guy that puts you over the hump? I think there's still so many variables to this, Ken, that I mean, it hurts, but it's still very interesting and intriguing.
And that's why I brought it up, because that's something I'm not seeing out in the national scene. I think I've only heard one guy suggest that maybe Dame stays in Portland, and that's Mike Harmon, who's on Fox Sports. So other than him, nobody else has, because I listen to a lot of shows, and by far, to me, I don't think Joe wants to trade Dame. I really don't. That's why he's talking about, I'm going to make it ridiculous so nobody can come up with what we need. So because he wants Dame to give Scoot a chance and see what can happen. And the more I think about it, the more I've bought in. And you, like you said, you start out pretty doggone decent. All of a sudden at the trade deadline, instead, you're not trading Dame. You're bringing in stuff then. You're starting to say, you know what? We're going to bring in stuff to make us even better. And then it's winner, winner, chicken dinner all around. And you know what? That's what it's all about, man. So you don't trade away great. You're not going to get great back. You're not. And nothing against, and like I said, I'm holding out hope, and I think that's the best cause. The only people who won't like that are the Dame haters who have said, "Oh, that ship has sailed," and they can kiss it.
Yeah, well, we'll see where it goes, Ken, and appreciate the call as always. And again, there's plenty of intrigue here. We'll see where it goes. And I know Ken. He said he's coming down. Doesn't matter where it goes, whether Dame is a Blazer in October or he is gone or the team blows everything up and brings in nothing but a bunch of 18-year-olds. They're going to balance this thing out, and Blazer fans are going to have basketball to watch, and that's what they're going to be hyped about.